Welcome to Folklorama at Home, the virtual experience, brought to you by the Manitoba Government Stay-at-Home Program. My name is Tanya, and I'll be your tour guide as we check out cultures from around the world, including those in our backyard. If you would like to chat with us, feel free to chat with us below in the chat bar. Otherwise, let's get started meeting one of our favorites from our own backyard, Coco Stevenson. Hi, Ray.
Hello.
How are you?
You know what? I am very good and feeling pretty awesome. I've been fortunate enough to be able to stay safe, and I like to keep it that way.
Yep, exactly. Now, you have a spiritual name. What is it?
In the Ojibway language, it's pronounced Pimose Maingan, which means walking wolf.
Wow, and how did you get that?
Well, about over 30 years ago, I went to a ceremony. And it was a naming ceremony.
Wow.
And when I went to that ceremony, there was an elder there that gave me that name. And a lot of people know him. His name is Dave Cochane Jr. And that was just a little over 33 years ago.
And what did that mean to you to get that special name?
Well, I have to tell you, you know what, as First Nations people growing up in the North End, because I'm a born and raised Winnipeg guy, you know, finding a different path in life, and just getting your true identity of who you are and what you are as a First Nations person, the feeling was unlike any other high, and it's just straight from the heart. It's an overwhelming, positive, good vibe, good for your soul, everything, you know. It's just hard to explain how good it felt to have my name.
I bet. Now tell us about that path, because you've been through a lot to get to where you are now.
Well, because of it, you know, like I said, I was born and raised in Winnipeg, and by the time I was 12 years old, I probably did everything you could possibly think of when it came to drugs and alcohol. So it wasn't until I was about 18 years old where I went to my very first ceremony.
Wow.
And that was called the Sweat Lodge. And when I went to the Sweat Lodge, what ended up happening was, I don't know what, but something just kind of came over me when I heard that drum and I heard these songs in the Sweat Lodge. And just to, you know, if you were to take a look at a Sweat Lodge and how hot it really is, you know, you go to Cindy Clausen, you go into the sauna, it's like 10 times hotter than that.
Wow.
You know, it's a purification ceremony.
Okay.
So, but I had chills. I had chills, and the back of my hair was standing up, and I was like, oh my God, what's going on? I was kind of freaking out, right? So at the end of the ceremony, I talked to this guy, and I says, you know, this is what happened to me. He says, well, I'll tell you something. Everybody has a mind, a body, and a spirit. And at that particular time, your spirit was identifying something that was good for you. And that's what ended up happening to me. So you heard of a born-again Christian. That day I became a born-again Indian kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So since that day, I never looked back. And I gave up drugs and I gave up alcohol to pursue just my dream from that day of singing. And it's taken me all over the world because of it. And I've been fortunate enough to be able to have my own music that I compose. I've been
7 albums.
Yeah, you know
That's
what?
pretty impressive.
And that's not including the ones that I've recorded with other drum groups and even bands.
True.
You know, I don't know if you know, but I've been part of a band called Eagle and Hawk off and on for 20 years. And they're a very well-known band, and we've traveled all over the world. You know, so the drum has taken me from this young guy growing up in the North End, and it's given me the opportunity to travel the world.
Wow.
Which is awesome, you know. I never thought that would ever happen to me. When I was growing up, I wanted to be Tony Montana. You know, seriously,
Yeah.
That was my path. And when that happened to me, it was definitely a blessing, and it changed my life forever.
And how did you first get started in the drums? Like, you heard it, but then how did you start learning it?
Well, after the ceremony was done, they pulled out a big drum. And this was at a place called Hillside Beach, just maybe about an hour-ish north of Winnipeg off of 59. There used to be a camp there. And when they pulled out that big drum, I asked, I says, you know, how do I learn how to do that? One of the things that I was told at that time was that, you know, that drum is a sacred item. That drum has a spirit. And if you offer that spirit tobacco, and ask that drum to help you. That drum will help you. The spirit of that drum will help you. It'll help you learn faster. It'll keep you on the right path. So that's what I did. Every time I sat at that drum, I offered tobacco. And I always said, please help me. I want to do this. I'm willing to give up this to pursue this. Right? And that's exactly what I did. So within a year and a half, I was singing I was making my own songs.
Wow.
And
is it from your own language? How did the songs come about?
Well, the first song I ever made was what we call a chant.
Okay.
It's a straight song, and a little bit later on, I'll share it with you. I call it my drum song. So that drum song came to me, and how that ended up happening is I was working at a place called Mamoy youth program over 30 years ago, and there was a gentleman there that was a musician. His name was Chris, and he was putting together an album. So what he ended up doing, he says, I have a nickname, Coco. So he says, hey, Coco, do you think you'd be able to make a song to go on my album? So he kind of challenged me to make a song, right? And I never even thought about making songs. So I made a song. That was my first song I ever did.
Was it easy to do? I've never written a song, so was it easy to do, or?
Well, you know what? It wasn't exactly easy to do, and at that time, but after that, I ended up making songs in different languages. The first word song I ever made was in the Cree language.
Wow.
And that the Cree language is because I come from a background. My grandfather was a Cree, and my grandmother was an Ojibway, and my mom's family comes from a place called Manitoba, and my dad's family comes from a place called Peguis. So what ended up happening is, over the years, I started making songs in both Cree and Ojibway, but also chanting, just straight songs.
Wow.
So, I've even made a few fun songs, and I've gotten kids into the studio that I've taught how to sing, and you know what, that'll be an experience for them that they'll remember for the rest of their life.
Ray, you are so inspirational. I cannot wait. We cannot wait to learn what you do. So let's get started and teach me your way. So Ray, you've brought some fantastic drums today. Can you tell me, what is this made of? How does it work?
Well, this particular drum here was the gift that was given to me from my sister, and it has elk hide, and it's also made of wood. Drums have a huge significance in who we are and what we are as First Nations people. And the ability for that drum and the spirit kind of just flows off when you sound it. I don't hit my drums for nothing. I always find a purpose. And I try to make songs with a purpose. Sometimes fun songs just come up, but I try to make songs with a purpose. And when I do, it's almost like meditating when I sing a song. This particular drum I've used probably for about 4 or 5 years, off and on, and it consists of, like I said, the hide and the wood. But our drums are considered not necessarily an instrument, but I like to see it as a tool, or even more so a gift that was given to us. And the drums that I carry with the teachings that I have, and we have different teachings all over what we call Turtle Island, North America, right? So the drums that I have, the teaching that I have is that my drums are specifically made for male singers,
okay,
right? So I have probably about 6 or 7 different drums, big drums, hand drums.
And they come in different sizes, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So what ends up happening is if somebody was to ask me, I don't want to offend anybody, especially a woman, when I say, I'm sorry, but my drums aren't meant to, but I do have other drums, like a synthetic drum that we're going to try out in a little bit, and I'll let you try it.
Great.
And we do have women drum group singers all across North America too. Probably more so in Winnipeg than anywhere else, as far as I know. Yeah, sitting and singing on the big drum.
Yeah.
So in the last 30 years, women singers have become huge around Manitoba area. And we do have some of our elders that say, that drum, is meant for the men because it was a gift from the women to the men to use. And there are many different stories throughout the different tribes is that, You talk about, let's say, the Sioux and Ojibway, how they used to fight all the time. It was said that that drum was given to them so that they could come together and be in peace with one another.
Yeah.
So today I use my drums for many different reasons. Not only just to share the songs that I have, but I use them in ceremony. And a lot of times I'll sing either in the Cree Ojibway language, or I'll sing in straight songs. And whenever I sing, I kind of go into this almost like meditation trance kind of thing. So a lot of times when I do sing, I'll just close my eyes and I'll go to this place that makes me where I need to be, and I'll just go. And I've seen over the years a lot of musicians who will pick up their guitar. A good example would be like a Jimi Hendrix. You just watch that guy play his guitar, he closes his eye and he's in
Total
this
trance.
place.
Yeah.
And that's what it does for me. One of the things that the drum has done for me also is help me heal. A lot of times we suffer loss, and everybody does. When you lose a loved one, like a parent, a mother, a father, you get this heavy feeling on your chest.
Right.
And what ended up happening is when you have that feeling and you sing, it's almost like lifting all of that up and out, and it comes out. And when you're done singing, you feel like 10 times better from what it was when you started.
Total healing process.
And you know what? I take a look at a lot of professional people all over the world, and one of the things that they use as a tool is scream, let it all out. So that's the best way for me to translate that, is just to let it all out, right? And then you'll feel better after, and it's done wonders for me.
I bet. Yeah. Now, if anybody wanted to do this at home, or wanted to learn at home while you're teaching me, do you recommend like a plastic pot or a metal pot, or what they can do bang on at home?
You know what? I would recommend even going to Long McQuaid, right? And that's where one of the drums, like I've bought a lot of synthetic drums. If I have to sing outside, depending on what situation it is, if it's not a ceremonial purpose thing, maybe it's just to share songs. These drums get flat real quick when it's humid out.
Really?
So I will pull out a synthetic drum and it stays in tune all of the time.
So you actually have to tune your drum?
Yes, and how you do that is through heat.
Oh.
So a lot of times, if you're at a ceremony, you can use the fire that they have. You just put your drum there and let it heat up, and it'll tighten up.
Wow.
So a lot of people don't know that, and sometimes people make the mistake of heating it up a little too much, where they can actually split. And but it's always nice just to keep an eye on it and just get it to where you want it to be, right?
Right.
Get it to that spot where you want it to be and where you want it to be, and then just let it set. Let it set for a couple minutes. That way it the heat goes down and it stays tuned. Because if you use it right away, what'll end up happening, it'll go flat quicker because it's still warm, right? So let it sit a little bit. And if you want to cheat, a lot of times if I'm at a gig, for Folkorama maybe, I'll get a hair dryer.
Oh.
And I'll plug it into the dressing room, and I'll put my case on there, and I'll just, and the next thing you know, perfect. I'm good to go, right?
That's
so,
incredible.
and that's just a little cheat. And sometimes even if you're at home, you use element, on your stove, and just heat up your drum.
Don't get it
and
near the element.
Yes.
Keep it above.
Yeah, so that's how I end up tuning it up. But, the drum has done wonders for me. And like I said, it's taken me all over the world, and it's helped me overcome a lot of major obstacles in life. The loss of loved ones, overcoming some of the addictions, and that's one of the things that I can say about this way of life is that, you're on this path, which we call life. And any time and every time, and this will happen to everybody, there's going to be something that's going to happen to you. Yeah. It's almost like hitting a wall, boom, and you're stuck. But it helps me overcome that obstacle so I can continue to move forward. And that's what this has done for me, and that's what this way of life does for a lot of people. So that's what I try and teach people, that, regardless of what happens in life, it's a cycle, and just stay strong and do whatever you need to do to be able to move forward.
Ray, would you do us the honor and play us one of your songs?
Sure. Like I said earlier, this is my drum song, the first song I ever composed. It's a straight song and just straight chant. So I'll do a verse for you, all right?
Great. That was so beautiful.
Aw, thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. So what does that song mean to you?
It just means it's hard to explain, but it's when I sing that song, it's just letting people know, you know what, this is who I am, this is what I do. You know, that's a feeling that I get from doing that song. And I was told a long time ago, the first song you ever make, that will be your drum song.
Wow.
So that's the first song I ever composed, and that was over 32 years ago.
Holy crow.
Yeah, so you know what, I've been very lucky and fortunate to be able to have that gift to make songs, you know, because not everybody has gifts to do certain things. You know, I've been going to ceremony for over 33 years, and you know, I don't conduct ceremonies, I don't portray to be an elder, where I can give a name or things like that, you know. I've accepted the fact that, you know, one time people were asking me, well, what all do you do? I says, well, I'm just a singer. And there was an elder at a ceremony I was at. He says, I'm going to tell you something, don't you ever say that again. He says, don't you ever say, I'm just a singer.
Yeah.
He says, you know, this Sundance that we're at right now, we wouldn't be able to have it if it wasn't for you sitting at that drum singing songs for us, giving prayers for us.
Yeah.
He says, you have a job, you have a responsibility and a duty as a singer to be there for the people and sing for that higher power. Yeah. So don't you ever say that. So ever since that day, I said, you know what? I sing, and I've accepted that was my job and responsibility to do.
Your calling.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when it comes time for ceremony or powwow or anything like that, you know, people ask, I just do what I do to the best of my ability. So that's what it is.
Now, how do you get, your voice did some beautiful ranges. How do you do that?
A lot of times people ask me the same question. And the only way that I can explain that is just training yourself.
Okay.
You know, it's funny because I've known a lot of professional musicians who are singers, you know, and a lot of times they'll give you a vocal exercise. And I heard people doing that, you know, different bands and different musicians. And I saw somebody going,
Yeah.
It's like, oh. I says, what are you doing? And then they explained to me that, you know what, that's a vocal exercise. So, and if you do that, it'll help bring your range a little bit higher, or maybe even fake yawning, so you can open up your vocal cords. And I says, oh. So a lot of times if I'm at, let's say, ceremony, you know, or a powwow, and I'm sitting there and I'm just going, you know, and people are looking at me, it's like, are you crazy?
I'm a singer. That's what I do. Yeah.
So what ended up happening, and this is a true story, a few years back I was doing that at a ceremony called the Sundance, and we were on a break, so I was doing a vocal exercise, and the singers were on the drums said, what are you doing? I says, well, this is what it does for you. So next thing you know, we were all doing it, right?
Nice.
So, and that was kind of cool. And that's one of the things that I've done is at that particular time, everybody sitting around that drum at that particular ceremony, I taught how to sing the songs to be able to come to help out at that ceremony, right?
Right.
So I taught them all of the songs that they needed to know, and they ended up doing it on their own after.
Wow.
You know, and that's one of the things like that really makes you feel proud. You know, you can say, you know what, I had a small part of that. I showed them how to sing that song. I taught them that song.
Yeah.
I taught them how to do the beats and whatnot. And like
And
I
then
said,
they'll share it for generations to
oh
come.
yeah, and you know what? It just gets passed down on and on.
Yeah.
But with today's technology, you know, it's even more awesome. You can get that message out quick because people are very, especially young people. I've worked in school for 25 years with special ed kids, right? So a lot of times they don't know that they're capable of doing stuff. But if you teach them the proper way and the most simplest way for them to understand, they'll get it.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to do. I break down singing.
Now, Ray, I know you're going to teach us some singing later, but we should probably warm up our vocal cords. How do we do that?
Well, there's a few different ways. Number one, you could sing a song that you already know. And the one that we were practicing a little bit earlier, you know, it's very simple. It's just like, let's try it together, all
I don't
right?
know if I can do that. Join us, please.
All right, let's try it together. And then another one, we'll do it one more time. 1, 2, 3. So, and that just kind of gives you a little bit higher range.
Oh.
You know, I wouldn't necessarily do this at ceremony. It's not traditional, but you know what? It is an exercise if you did want to warm up your voice. Another one is faking that you're yawning, like, oh, right?
Okay.
Just pretend you're yawning, fake it, and then, oh. And what that does, exactly. And you can try that at home. What it does is it opens up your vocal cords. And I'd like to say thank you to Dominique Reynolds, who showed me that exercise while we were on a show in Ottawa. Thank you, Dominique Reynolds.
That's awesome. Thanks
Yeah.
for teaching us that. So will you teach us some of your tricks of the trade?
You know what? I will. You know, a lot of times people don't realize how simple singing can be.
Okay.
You know, so I want
You don't
to,
make it look simple, so.
Well, I'm going to get you to repeat after me.
Okay.
Say ya-a.
Ya-a.
That's one. Again. Ya-a.
Ya-a.
Again. Ya-a.
Ya-a. You doing this at home?
Okay, so that's 3. So ya-a.
Ya-a.
Ya-a. Ya-a.
Ya-a.
Say ya.
Ya.
Again.
Ya.
So that's 3 ya-a's and 2 ya's. Now
Okay.
watch my fingers.
Okay.
Ya-a, 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 yo, yo. Okay,
Oh my
let's
gosh, that
try
was so
that
beautiful.
together.
I can't do that. That's so
Let's
beautiful.
just try it. You know what? If you
Okay.
can talk, you can
Yeah,
sing. All right?
okay.
I'll try and bring my range down so we can kind of. Here we go. Ya-a, 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 yo, yo. Good. And you know what? That's how I break down songs. So I'm going to do that 4 times. So it'll sound like this. Ya-a, 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 yo, yo. 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 So I do that 4 times, and it is a round dance song, right? So in the middle of the round dance song, we do what we call, I guess you can call it a till. So, way-yo, hey-do, hey-do. Try that with me. Way-yo, hey-do, hey-do. That's it. One more time.
Okay.
Way-yo, hey-do, hey-do. Good. All right, so for those of you that are at home and you want to sing along with us, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one of the 4 alone. That's what I call the lead. And then you're going to repeat it with me. So when I point to you or I point to you,
Okay.
that's when we repeat number 1, and then we're going to go 2, 3, 4 with the tail.
Okay.
And then we're going to repeat it over again. So we do it 2 times. So we have a first half of a song and a second half of a song.
Okay.
All right?
Ready?
So, are you guys ready? Here we go. Let me do the lead first. So when I go like this, that means just wait. All right? So, ya-a, 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 yo, yo. 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 Ya eh ya eh ya eh ya ya. Way yo hello hey hello. Again, second half.
Okay.
Ya eh ya eh ya eh yo yo. 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 Way yo hello hey hello, and that's it. You know.
Wow.
So a lot of times people don't realize
job.
how simple it is, right? Unless you break it down in a way for them to be able to understand it.
Absolutely.
So that's why people ask me, you know, can you come and do this at this school? Can you come and do this at this class, at whether it's a university class or even at an in-service for a school division, and teachers and music teachers, because I've done workshops with almost everybody over the years. But, you know, and one of the things that we have is a drum, and you have one. You know, I'm going to give you this guy here.
Ooh, honored.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
And I talked a little bit earlier about that our drums, you know, the drums that I have and carry are for women, are not allowed women to be on them or use them. So I do have a synthetic drum here that was a gift from one of the parents of my Pow Wow club, just to give thanks, right?
Wow.
And, you know,
Special.
that's always nice, you know, so it's a very special gift. So when we're singing a song like that, you think of a heartbeat, right? So you're like, boom, boom, boom.
Right at the top here?
Well, you can do it here.
Okay.
But I'm just doing it because mine is closer to the mic, and I don't
Yeah.
want to, boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, boom. Ya, 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 yo, yo. 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 Hey, yo, hello, hello. When you're thirsty and oh so dry, Coco's Cola, give it a try. Yeah,
I think we're translating. That was
So my
beautiful.
nickname is Coco.
Right,
And remember I told you I brought some kids into a studio?
right.
I brought them in and we sang that song in the studio. That was a little bit of a twist, but you know what? It was a good twist. So it was unexpected.
Yeah, absolutely. You got me.
And when it comes to songs like that, you know, I've made a few different songs that were just for fun. I have a song that I call my $1 million song.
Oh,
Because I thought I possibly might be able to make $1 million off of it. So
would you play another song for us?
I will, yeah.
Okay.
So what I'll do is I'm going to play the very first Cree song I ever made.
Okay.
You know, and what it translates to is, I am so happy to see you when you dance for people. And that's what the elders tell us, you know, when you want to dance, you want to sing, you have to do it for those who can't do it for themselves, especially our elders anymore. So if you go to a powwow, you're going to see front row seats, the elders are going to be sitting there, you know, and they love to watch the young people dance because they can no longer do that anymore. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to switch this because this is a little bit softer and I don't want it to be... So this is the first Cree song I ever made over 30 years ago. So that was the very first Cree song I ever made. And I'll share one more really quick one with you. It's an Ojibway song. It's one of my latest songs. Now, if you can say Ogichitakwe. Ogichita.
Ogichitakwe.
Yes. Say Miigwech.
Miigwech.
Yeah. Kinanakomen.
Kinanakomen.
Yes. So Ogichitakwe, for those of you that are watching at home, means warrior woman. Miigwech means thank you. Kinanakomen means you're acknowledging them. So if you want to sing it, those are the three set of words that you're using. So when I sing it, I'm going, O Gechitakwe, O Gechitakwe, Miigwech, Miigwech, Kinanakomen, Hero. If you want to try it, you can in the second half. O Gechitakwe, O Gechitakwe, Miigwech, Miigwech, Kinanakomen, Hero. So I'll do a half a verse of that, just so you can see what it sounds like, all right?
Beautiful.
You know what? And that's why I like it. It's such a beautiful song. And it acknowledges the women, because the women play a huge part in who we are and when it comes to this way of life. You know, they are the life givers. They bring life into this world. They have a certain responsibility in ceremony. They look after the water. Men, they look after the fire.
Wow.
So when we have ceremony, they were always the ones doing the acknowledging and blessing of that water to make it sacred, and always giving thanks. And every month they have what we call a full moon ceremony, and they acknowledge the gifts that they have.
Now, Ray, one thing I've always been curious about when I've gone to powwows is you have like the light beating and then the hard beating. What's the difference?
Well, you know what? When you're drumming on a drum and you hear that light beat, that's normally just the beginning of the song. But in the second half, what you're doing is you break it up a little bit and then you'll hit that drum harder, right? And those are what we call honor beats.
Wow.
So when you do those honor beats, what you're doing is you're acknowledging the people that are up there and what we call our grandfathers and our grandmothers. And the best way to describe them are angels, right? People that are in the heavens right now, we call the spirit world. So you acknowledge them with those honor beats.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Ray, and thank you for joining us for Folklorama at Home, the virtual experience. Be sure to tune in to our social media channels at Folklorama, as well as our website for @folklorama.ca to find out what's happening next week. Ray, would you do us the honor of playing us out today?
Absolutely. This is a song I made. It's called Till We Meet Again. And the reason why I call it that, because in any of our languages across North America, Turtle Island, there is no way to say goodbye. It is always until we meet again. I just want to say thank you for this opportunity.
Miigwech, Ray.
Thank you. Oh,